from our Tasmanian headquarters, this is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. The government is tonight being accused of running an inhumane and overcrowded prison system following a riot which left 5 guards hospitalised yesterday. The unions claim prison staff are doing what they can under increasing pressure, while the government says extra funding will ease the burden.
Calmer scenes at Risdon Prison this afternoon now return to normal following yesterday's riot that left 5 guards in hospital.
There's nothing wrong with locking people away for doing their crime, but you treat them in a humane fashion while they're in there, otherwise you get these sorts of results.
The government accused of running an institution under increasing pressure, with tensions claimed to be rising, especially in maximum security.
Some prisoners locked in their cells for 21, 22 hours a day.
If you've only got a certain number of inmates out of their cell at any given time, that creates a safer environment, and I think they're the sort of things that need to be reviewed now to make sure you don't give these people another opportunity.
The state government taking the opportunity to spruik its corrections plans, including stage 1 of a northern prison and more facilities in the south.
There's 81 beds that are in the process of being opened. A new Southern Remand Centre, fully funded in this budget, will provide another 70 beds.
Prisoner rights advocates are blaming this latest incident here at Risdon Prison on overcrowding. They claim the Liberals' tough on crime policy is forcing offenders to stay in jail rather than utilising preventative strategies and rehabilitation programs within the community.
In the budget, we've committed to around $33 million worth of support for more corrections officers and alternative sentencing methods.
But for now, officers assaulted yesterday will continue to be offered support by management. All were taken to hospital as a precaution, with 2 sustaining minor injuries during the incident.
Days like today, when you have to say goodbye to your loved ones and go to work knowing what happened yesterday, really does highlight how difficult this job is.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanians have been offered an insight into the Labor Party's economic plans for the state's future. The opposition leader today officially responding to last week's budget. But the party continues to come under fire for its decision not to hand down a fully costed plan.
Health, housing and addressing inequity, all on the Labor agenda. The opposition leader using her budget reply to point to growing inequalities across the state and saying the government's budget had wasted opportunities to create change.
So how do we start to address growing inequality? We can start by providing the essentials. Mr Deputy Speaker, health remains my #1 priority because it is the #1 priority for all Tasmanians.
Labor now calling for changes to land rezoning to increase purpose-built affordable housing.
Inclusionary zoning incorporates affordable housing and residential developments as part of the planning process. It has been proven to assist with housing supply and helps to ensure that affordable homes are located close to services.
Also announcing Labor will establish 8 industry advisory councils to ensure its policies reflect the views of the public.
We will not wait until we are in government to set up this invaluable consultative mechanism. Together with the relevant shadow ministers, I'll be writing to key stakeholders in each industry sector, inviting them to join the Industry Advisory Council relevant to their sector.
But the Treasurer is continuing to slam Labor for not handing down its own costed alternative budget.
It's now up to the Labor Party to demonstrate what they stand for and importantly how they would pay for things. It's simply not good enough to be lazy or incompetent and not provide an alternative budget.
Look, good luck to Labor and good luck to Rebecca White. There were some announcements made today, but I wouldn't say they were big on vision or substance.
The Greens will present a fully costed alternative budget to Parliament tomorrow. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
An inquest into the death of a construction worker on King Island in 2014 has heard there were several potential safety oversights leading up to the tragedy. 28-year-old Kurt Joshua Gorey was killed after falling 6 metres while working at the island's airport. Our reporter Sean McCormish has more.
Kurt Gorey was alongside his brother Luke and other workers constructing a roof at King Island Airport in December 2014 when he fell 6 metres to his death. Today, an inquest into the workplace accident heard from those present on the day. Supervisor Stuart Winwood told the court he was unaware the men were on the roof just before the tragedy. Counsel assisting the coroner asked Mr Winwood if he saw the harness on Mr Gorrie's body after the fall, to which he answered no, there wasn't. He said the brothers had a good reputation and had been subcontracted to company De Jong Constructions. Fellow supervisor Tim Mitchell, who was not present at the time, gave evidence the site had run out of safety meshing for the roof and that more had been ordered but had not arrived. The company owners were also present for today's proceedings. The inquest continues tomorrow.
An embarrassing blunder on the floor of Parliament has forced the Premier to make an apology. Last week, Will Hodgman was at a National Liberal Party meeting when the room was asked to vote on whether the ABC should be privatised. He was today asked why he didn't stand up for the public broadcaster. While he initially insisted he was not in the room at the time, 2 hours later he was forced to correct the record after this footage proved he was in fact there for the vote.
No, I was not in the room when this vote was taken. It has come to my attention that while I was present, I did not participate in the debate, nor indeed did I vote in support of the motion.
The Premier saying it was an inadvertent mistake. Tasmania is being assured a top-tier football league will remain in place until at least 2023, according to a state league clubs meeting with the AFL Steering Committee today. But how the league will be structured and whether it will be referred to as statewide is not confirmed.
After months of speculation, Tasmania's state league clubs have received their strongest sense of survival yet. Club presidents say they're being assured a premier competition involving the 7 current clubs will remain in place for the next 5 years.
To give certainty to our players, our officials, our employees, our coaches.
Club presidents say funding is still being negotiated. The current deal sees each club receive $100,000 per year, but extra funding could be tied to the success of the competition, with presidents currently working on a set of performance targets to present to the AFL.
The KPIs pertain to things like governance, junior development and engagement with other clubs in our zones.
AFL Tasmania is keeping details from today's meeting under wraps.
Everything that was discussed today was in draft. We had 4 members of the steering committee present today in Launceston, but as you know, there's a lot of other members that need to be updated from the feedback today.
Those members will be updated tomorrow in Melbourne when AFL boss Gillon McLachlan chairs the next steering committee meeting.
Until we get to that 30 June deadline, there's still no final decision that I can talk about today.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
The Royal Hobart Hospital is once again full to the brim. A period of increased demand this morning led to 39 people waiting in the emergency department. Shortly before 9 a.m, 33 of these patients had been admitted but were waiting for a bed. The hospital operating at a level 4 escalation. The health department says it was a time of higher than usual demand and that staff continued to deliver the best possible patient care. The escalation will be in place until at least tomorrow morning when it will be reviewed. Footballers from across the country have come to Tasmania for the AFL Inclusion Carnival, which gives people with an intellectual disability the chance to share football's main stage. The series is about more than just the on-field contest, with one local player describing how it helps build social connections.
The games are lightning quick and played in good spirit. The AFL Inclusion Carnival is where players with an intellectual disability share the stage in a State of Origin style series. But this game kicks a goal greater than the one you'll see on the scoreboard.
It's like a family, really. You go there, you train together, you play together, you stick up for each other. It's just like you're at home with your family.
Tasmania's captain, nicknamed Dingo, says being part of a football club has helped him build confidence and social skills.
It means everything to me, you know, it's been my whole life. When I was growing up for school, I was getting bullied a lot and come down to a local footy club and they just took me on board who I am.
He's played in all 5 inclusion carnivals, but this is the first in his home state, while the visitors get to see Tasmania beyond the boundary line.
WA, they don't have snow over there, so they've come over here and lapped that up and went up to the snow on Sunday. We've booked out a whole hotel, so it's absolutely heaving with about 170, 180 support staff, players.
Hosting the event in Tasmania was a major coup, requiring a joint effort from local government, community groups and AFL Tasmania. In a first for the Carnival, today's top two sides will face off in a curtain raiser ahead of Saturday's match between Hawthorn and the Gold Coast at UTAS Stadium.
Some have never been on an aeroplane before, so the fact that they can come out here, get that experience as well and get some independency too, that's what this event offers, just besides playing footy too.
Along with a chance to share in our great game.
Being part of a team, which is the main thing.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
The performance artist who spent 3 days under Hobart's Macquarie Street has today spoken to audiences for the first time. Mike Parr says he was making a grand statement against oppression around the globe, but was ready to leave the underground for a warm meal.
Mike Parr today captivating a Hobart audience, hearing of a 72-hour subterranean existence.
If I'd been underground for 2 hours, people would have thought it would have been over before they had the chance to become anxious. They needed to become anxious because that was the way they possessed the work.
Questioned on the experience and whether at any stage he wanted to leave.
No, I was determined to go the distance.
The artist hoping audiences formed their own opinions, but claiming this art installation would draw parallels about oppression felt around the globe, including that of Indigenous Tasmanians.
It's important that Dark Mofo doesn't just put lights into the sky and fires, that we actually touch on deeper projects and projects with more significant meaning.
The artist met with an Aboriginal flag on exit.
And I felt immediately very buoyed and confident, really.
Explaining why crowds weren't acknowledged when he climbed back above ground.
I had proposed to null the image. I didn't want to reanimate that null by being overtly a performer.
With nothing but some water and vegetable stock underground, it's no wonder he'd worked up a bit of an appetite.
I was thinking of getting inside the Mercury building and going home and having a small meal.
Dark Mofo continues this week. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has lost ground late in the session to close slightly weaker as trade tensions between the US and China pull the Australian dollar to a one-year low. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 2 points. A short time ago, our dollar was trading at 73.8 US cents and 106.82 New Zealand cents. Sport time now with Tom Cooper. Hello, Tom. Finally, some good news for Bombers fans.
Good evening, Joe. It certainly is. Dyson Heppel and Devon Smith have been given the all-clear to take on the Eagles. We'll have more on that after the break. Also coming up, teenage Socceroo Daniel Arzani embracing his growing popularity in Russia. And Tasmania wins the right to host World Hockey's version of the Big Bash League. International hockey will return to Tasmania for the first time since 2015, with Hobart set to host a string of matches for the inaugural FIH Pro League next year. With the popularity of cricket's Big Bash League soaring, World Hockey is preparing to put on a spectacle of its own.
It'll be big, it'll be loud, there'll be lots of crowds, there'll be other things to do as well. It won't just be a game of hockey, it'll be fully evented up.
And the state is set to be right in the thick of the hype after Tasmanian Hockey and the state government won its bid to host 4 games for next year's FIH Pro League tournament, with Australia's men's side, the Kookaburras, set to take on powerhouse Pakistan and former Olympic champions Germany, while the women's Hockeyroos will also face off with the Germans along with China.
The government was very keen to get the Chinese women's team playing here because of obviously the links with our business and tourism. So we were very happy when we were able to get that game.
Around 4,000 people are expected to pack the Tasmanian Hockey Centre in Newtown, with the venue and the state set to be beamed to TV sets across the globe.
For these games, we'll be into Europe, we'll be broadcast into China, and we'll be broadcast into Pakistan. So they're fairly big markets.
The tournament begins in February.
Luke Jackson has arrived in Belfast ahead of the most important fight of his career, with the Tasmanian featherweight set to take on Northern Irishman Carl Frampton for the interim WBO title. And a win for Jackson could mean a dream shot at injured champion Oscar Valdez.
There's been a lot of negativity behind Carl choosing to fight me, but at any level you get negativity. I get negativity for the people I fight back in Tasmania. So, look, I'm coming to win the fight, man.
The bout is at Windsor Park on August 18. And that's it for sport.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for that, Tom. Pete Murphy joins us after the break with the weather.
Good evening. Another cool day across the state today. Hobart 12 degrees, Launceston and Devonport 13, Burnie a high of 11. King Island and Strawn with our top today, 14 degrees, as the west found the best of the weather. A few showers over the east coast, Flinders Island, Friendly Beaches and Low Head 13 degrees, St Helens and Ouse 12. Lyre-Weenie with our low of -5. So if there were showers over the east, there must have been some cloud there, a little too over the northwest and through Bass Strait. And a large area of mid to high level cloud extends across central WA through to Western Victoria. More is pushing up over coastal New South Wales. A little low cloud over the bottom of Western Australia as well. Tomorrow the high moves to our east, extending a ridge across the southern part of the country. A weakening cold front is over Tasmania with an associated trough finding Victoria. The winds northwest to northeasterly at 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over western and southern waters. So we have a strong wind warning there in the west from Low Rocky Point to Sandy Cape. A few showers for Hobart tomorrow, but cloudy for most of the day. 13 the top, 13 for Geeveston with morning fog, and Bothwell a morning frost, a cloudy afternoon, a top of 12 degrees. Launceston a shower or two, 14 the maximum, 14 for Devonport, a shower or two for Cressy as well, and 12 degrees. Burnie a shower or two, 5 overnight, 14 tomorrow, 14 also at the top for Strawn with a cloudy day in the west, maybe a late shower over King Island, 13 the maximum. And for St Helens 15, 15 for Swansea, bit of cloud about, and Orford 14 degrees. Showers over the north and west on Thursday, easing in the afternoon but fine elsewhere. On Friday showers will develop in the west before extending statewide by evening, and on Saturday showers contracting to the west and south late morning. A shower or two in Perth and possibly Adelaide tomorrow, partly cloudy in Melbourne and Brisbane, a shower forecast in Sydney, 32 degrees in Darwin but cool for Alice Springs. Clear at the moment in Hobart, 6 degrees currently, 7 degrees in Launceston and partly cloudy in Devonport, and 9 at the moment. Can't find a lot of fun in that forecast, Jo, so it's back to you.
No fun there at all. Thanks so much, Murph. Well, finally tonight, a reminder for Launceston motorists that the Charles Street Bridge will be closed from 7 o'clock until 9 p.m. The council is testing the bridge's floodgate system to see if any improvements can be made. Drivers can cross the river using the Tamer Street Bridge. That's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. Good night.